All right, clase por favor. Just a couple things I want to mention. We got our Chapter 1 tests done. A lot of you typed your responses, hand wrote your responses. There's something we need to clarify, visit with a little bit, and that is upside down punctuation. Okay, in Espanol, we have two pieces of punctuation that appear upside down, a question mark and an exclamation point. A lot of you were trying to type this information or handwrite this information. We're going to go over in a minute how you can access on your keyboard and type upside down punctuation, as well as type all the rest of the orthography, the written accent marks, the tildes over the letters N, right? We're going to talk about all that, but let's first figure out why we have to even worry about upside down punctuation. The question mark and the exclamation point are the only two pieces of punctuation in Spanish that appear upside down. No upside down periods or colons or semicolons or commas or blah. Just the question mark and the exclamation point. And the reason is this, mostly for the upside down question mark. Let's talk about that first. In Espanol, interrogative words, words that indicate questions, don't really exist. We got the who, where, when, what, why words. But if you think about in English, words like do, does, did, those words, I'm going to stand over here so both cameras can see me. Anyway, words like do, does, and did don't exist. Those words don't exist in Espanol, right? And so we've got to figure out a way. Otherwise, how do I know if I'm making a statement or asking a question, right? For example, do you have the time, right? Did he bring the shovel, right? Does she like cheesecake? Those do, does, did words indicate a question. And what do you hear my voice doing? The pitch in my voice is raising when I'm asking a question, as opposed to just making a statement. He brings the shovel. She likes cheesecake, right? Making a statement, an observation, my voice stays very monotone. But if I'm asking a question, I need to know that so that I can kind of raise the pitch of my voice goes up, and I'm asking a question. Do you have the time? Does she like cheesecake? Did he bring the shovel, right? Well, again, do, does, did words don't exist in Espanol. So how do I know? How do I know if I'm asking a question or making a statement? Well, if I can begin that question with an upside down question mark, or begin that statement with an upside down question mark, I know right away going in that I'm asking a question. And therefore I can elevate the pitch in the tone of my voice accordingly, right? And I know I'm asking a question and not just making a statement, okay? Same thing with the upside down exclamation point, right? To add emphasis or emotion. I'm going to write this on the board. If I see you across the street, I'm going to shout out, hola! Hello, how you doing, right? ¿Cómo está? Hola, right? I'm not going to say it quietly or meekly or humbly. I'm going to add some emphasis, some emotion. I'm going to scream it out. I'm going to holler, right? And so that upside down upside down exclamation point lets us know right away, going in. This is not something I'm saying quietly or timidly. This is something that has emotion, or that I'm adding emphasis to by including that upside down exclamation point, okay? So be mindful of these upside down punctuation marks in Espanol. It's only the upside down question mark and the upside down exclamation point that we have to worry about. So now your question is, you can handwrite those in if you're filling out your test or writing notes by hand. But now the question is, how do I type those, that upside down, not just the upside down punctuation, but also the written accent marks. How do I include those? Or the tilde over the letter N. How do I include all of these orthographic marks? Cliff, are you here? I forgot to recognize you at the beginning of our session.
Yeah, I wasn't able to connect, or they weren't able to connect me until just a few minutes ago.
Okay, but you're here now. All right, so we're kind of at that point, like our previous session. If you wouldn't mind, there's a couple of different ways that you can type the orthographic marks in Spanish, the accent marks, the upside down punctuation. Cliff will tell you about one, and then I'll tell you about a couple. Cliff, if you wouldn't mind sharing with them what you know about how to get these typewritten orthographic marks.
Okay, if you're using Windows 10, you can go on your desktop to the taskbar at the very bottom, right-click it, and that'll bring up a menu, and you choose to enable on-screen keyboard. And by enabling the on-screen keyboard, it'll create a little icon on that taskbar. And then you just click on that icon, it'll bring up the on-screen keyboard at kind of the bottom of the screen and just left click the letter that you want to accent. It'll bring up a list of that letter with various different types of accent marks over it. So just choose the one with the Spanish accent that you're looking for, and then it'll put that there, and that's how you get it.
Thank you, Cliff. Yeah, make sure you're choosing the correct Spanish orthography, because as Cliff mentioned, you select the taskbar or the toolbar, keyboard comes up, you click where you want it, and it's going to bring up written accent mark options, but not only written accent mark options for the Spanish language, but written accent mark options for Portuguese and French and all these other different languages, the Russian Cyrillic, right, and all these different accent marks or orthography, right? And so be mindful that you're selecting the correct Spanish orthography, Spanish accent marks. Some of you on your tests did a pretty good job of figuring out how to type those in, but you got the backward slash accent mark as opposed to the forward slash accent mark, and there's a difference. So make sure Portuguese, French, other languages have sometimes twice as many orthographic marks as Spanish does. So make sure you're selecting the correct orthography in Spanish, okay? All right, so that's one way to do it. Another way to do it, SpanishDict.com. I think I mentioned this at the beginning of the semester. SpanishDict, dict as in dictionary. SpanishDict.com is a good website to go to for all of your translation needs, dictionary type needs in the Spanish language. It also has an option to insert or how to type Spanish accent marks. I mean, you can create a macros. That's probably way outdated with technology, but I remember that's what I had to do. You can program your keyboard so that with the press of 2 or maybe 3 keys, you can get a particular letter with the written accent mark, right? The vowels with the written accent mark, or the letter N with the tilde, depending on what you want. You can get the upside down punctuation, right? SpanishDict.com also has a how to type in the accent mark. Sometimes I'll just copy and paste. I'll just copy it and paste it onto my document wherever I need it, okay? If I don't have that option, or if I'm in an email, something where I guess I can still copy and paste an email. A lot of times in a Word document, if you look up at the top, you can select Insert, right? You know, where it's got File, Home and File, and all these message and all these different things. You can select Insert, and then again, it'll give you a choice of Spanish orthography. Not just Spanish orthography, but all different kinds of languages, right? So make sure you select the right letter with the right accent mark that you need, capital or lowercase, whatever the case may be, or punctuation. You can click on that and it'll automatically insert it into your document. So give it a try. I mean, you guys want to become proficient in the Spanish language. You already are in a lot of respects, right? But part of that proficiency is getting the orthography correct. You wouldn't, if your name was John, John, you wouldn't leave the H out and expect to have spelled your name correctly, right? So kind of the same idea. Words with written accent marks, sometimes those words change meaning if you leave the accent mark out, intentionally or unintentionally, right? So become proficient in manipulating the written accent marks, especially if you're typing. Learn how to do that so that when somebody calls and says, hey, I need a Spanish interpreter or Spanish translator, right? You can charge a lot of money, like translators do, right? To be able to translate documents correctly with the correct orthography and everything, all right? So play around with that, give that a try, and then the next time we take a chapter test, if the orthography is something you want to type in and not handwrite manually, you'll know how to do that, okay? All right. Gracias, por favor. I don't think we're too terribly short on time, but we're just going to get right to it. I'm going to cover a couple of different concepts today. We're going to maybe kind of combine for something that we're going to do in the future, but that's okay. By the time we get to it in the future, you'll kind of already know it, be familiar with it. So don't worry, just take good notes, and then as you go back and review those notes, also this lecture is being recorded. I'm going to post it in our course in Moodle so that you can access the link, watch the video, rewatch the video as many times as you need to help understand this concept. All right, clase por favor. Let me get rid of some of this stuff. Who can tell me, well, let me do this first. No, I changed my mind. Who can tell me what a contraction is? Take yourselves off mute. Feel free to chime in. What is a contraction? Who can tell me?
I can't. It's 2 words put together that make one word.
Okay? Two words smashed together, usually when you smash them together, you remove a letter or two and add an apostrophe, right? The two words smashed together to make one word. I heard someone say, cannot becomes can't, right? I heard somebody say, would not becomes wouldn't. Did not becomes didn't, right? We got all these words, a couple of words we're smashing together, adding the apostrophe to create one word. How many contractions are there in the English language? How many do you suppose?
A lot.
A lot. Yeah, you're exactly right. A lot. Way too many to count. The good news, en español hay solamente dos. Solamente dos contracciones. We only have only two contractions in the Spanish language. And it is when we use the preposition de, and we add to that the singular masculine definite article el, we have to create the contraction del. Okay? And we're going to focus on this one, talk a little bit more about this one today, right here. Okay? The other contraction we'll come back to later, but just so you're aware when we get there, is the preposition a plus el equals al. Okay? You'll notice there's no apostrophe. I'm going to come back to that here in a minute. But these are the only two contractions in the Spanish language. We're going to talk more about this one later. The a plus el equals al. But notice in both of these contractions, they, whether we're talking about the contraction de or the contraction a, or excuse me, the preposition de or the preposition a. Sorry, I got to get my terminology right. Whether we're talking about the preposition de or the preposition a, it's still when both are dealing with the singular masculine definite article el. Okay? For example, I can follow, let's start with de. I can follow de with the feminine singular la all I want. I can follow de with even the masculine plural los all I want. I can follow de with the feminine plural las all I want. Right? What I cannot follow de with is the singular masculine el. I cannot do that. I have to create the contraction del. Okay? Likewise, and like I said, we'll get to this later. We're going to come back and work more with de. Likewise, the preposition a, I can follow that with the feminine la all I want. I can follow the preposition a with the masculine plural los all I want. No worries. I can follow the prepositional a with the feminine plural las all I want. No worries. What I can't follow a with is the masculine, singular masculine el. I have to create the contraction al. Okay? So those are the only two contractions in the Spanish language. Let me clean this up a little bit. There they are. When you have the preposition de plus el, we create the contraction del. And when we have the preposition a followed by el, the same singular masculine el, we have to create the contraction al. Okay? All right, preguntas? Any questions on that? Okay, so let's talk more about this preposition de. What do we do in English? What do we do to show possession if something belongs to somebody? What do we do?
Mine.
Okay, we use possessive adjectives. Mine, yours, his, hers, theirs, or possessive pronouns. Those would be possessive pronouns, right? Or even possessive adjectives. My, your, his, her, their, our. We're actually going to talk about that on Tuesday when I give my next lecture. We're going to run out of time for that today. You're exactly right. But what do we do to possessors? If something is mine, or something belongs to me, okay? What do we do? Like if I want, I'm just going to say it. Rich's book. Rich's book. What did I just do to the possessor? I'm the possessor. The book is what I possess. Rich's book. What did I just do to Rich? To show that the book belongs to him. What did I do?
Apostrophe S.
The apostrophe S. We add an apostrophe S, right? I'm going to write that up here on the board. In English, we add an apostrophe S to show that possession. Here's the bad news. In Espanol, the apostrophe doesn't exist. There is no such thing as an apostrophe. In Spanish, the letter S exists. You guys know that. But there's no such thing, there's no such idea as an apostrophe. Somebody mentioned it earlier when we create contractions. You smash a couple of words together, you remove a letter or two and replace it with an apostrophe. There's no apostrophe In español, you notice the two contractions we just looked at. No apostrophe. There's no apostrophe. I can't say it enough. There's no apostrophe. So we have to figure out another way to express possession in español. We've been talking about this preposition de. Who can tell me? You know what? I probably should have mentioned. If you've got your book, estamos en el libro 58. We're on page 58. On page 58, if you've got your book. Okay. That preposition de. What does that mean? The preposition de. ¿Cómo se dice de en inglés? What does de mean? Take yourselves out of the book. Of, or from. You're exactly right. Of. Well, think about that. If I'm going to write this on the board. If I just said it a second ago, Rich's book. This is Rich's book, right? Well, if I have to have another way to express Rich's book with this word of, right? The preposition de, the English equivalent of the word of. Could I not say it's the book of Richard, right? It belongs to him. Who's the book? Whose book is it? It's the book of Richard, right? Mary's backpack becomes the backpack of Mary. Joe's car becomes the car of Joe, you see? We can even in English use that preposition of, or that word of, to describe ownership. So look at the board. All we're doing then is we're simply swapping places, right? It is no longer whomever's whatever, but it is rather the whatever of whomever. That is to say, el libro de, I'm writing that in bold-faced type, el libro de Ricardo. You see? El libro de Ricardo. So because there's no such thing as an apostrophe in Spanish, we can no longer use that apostrophe S to show possession. It's no longer Rich's book, but rather the book of Richard, literally, right? It's no longer Mary's backpack, but the backpack of Mary. It's no longer Joe's car, but the car of Joe. You see, it's no longer whomever's whatever, but rather the whatever of whomever. Does that make sense? We're just swapping places, right? Rich's book in English, el libro de Ricardo in español. Okay, you see how that works? Not too terribly difficult to concept. It's not rocket surgery, right? Is everybody getting it? ¿Hay preguntas? ¿Hay preguntas? Any questions on that?
No.
Okay, we're good. I went a little backwards. I had a little bit of a brain fart and I went a little bit backwards. I was hoping to end up with this. We're going to finish up with another concept. But anyway, we're going to see this a lot more. Cliff's going to run over this in lab. You're going to see this a lot more. We're going to get some good practice with that. In fact, maybe while we're still on page 58, maybe we'll just take a look at some of these sample sentences, right? We'll take a look at some of these sample sentences if you can see that, if you want to follow along, right? We've got, well, the first sentence, something about Ariana is Juan's sister. Let me write that on the board. I'm just, add this to your notes so that when you go back and review, okay, Juan's sister is Ariana, they're telling us, right? Juan's sister is Ariana. But there's no apostrophe to use in Spanish. We're using that preposition de. And I'm going to write it in bold-faced type. De. So we're going to swap places. Instead of expressing it as Juan's sister, we're going to express it as the sister of Juan. Somebody read that sample sentence where it says, Ariana is Juan's sister. Read the Spanish translation. Literally, Ariana is the sister of Juan. What's that going to sound like? Somebody read it. I don't care. Anybody. Somebody. St. John's. Let's get a volunteer from St. John's. You guys have your book? You see where we are? You know where we are? Somebody read it. St. John's. You guys there? You see it? You guys have your books? Or you guys?
Where are we?
We're on page 58, 58. Right about the middle of the page, it says possession with de or del. There's a sample sentence. Ariana is Juan's sister. Read the Spanish translation. You see where we are? That first sample sentence.
So do we read the Ariana es hermana de Juan?
Yes, read that again out loud and with authority.
Ariana es la hermana de Juan.
Muy bien, I'm writing it on the board. Ariana es la hermana de Juan. We can no longer express Ariana as Juan's sister, apostrophe S, no such thing as apostrophe, right? Ariana is no longer Juan's sister, but rather the sister of Juan. You see? Ariana es la hermana de Juan. All right, let's go to, was there another site? Oh, St. John's is the only site. All right, so if there are other people that want to chime in. There's another sentence just below. Something about the book is Aunt Julia's, right? The book is Aunt Julia's. Let's write that up here on the board. Something about Aunt Julia's book. Aunt Julia's book, right? Somebody read the Spanish translation. Not so much the book is Aunt Julia's, but literally the book is of Julia, right? Somebody read that Spanish translation. Somebody, anybody. We have a volunteer? Anybody online? Anybody at St. John's? Anybody?
El libro es de la tía Julia.
Muy bien. ¿Ah? Es el libro o el libro es de la tía Julia. You see? ¿Ah? We're just swapping. We're just swapping locations of the possessor and what's possessed. It's no longer Aunt Julia's book, it's the book of Aunt Julia. El libro de la tía Julia. You see what we're doing? You see what we're doing? Okay, let's do this. Let's do this. I think there's another sentence that maybe might illustrate this point. Oh! Something about Mr. Roque's dog. Here is Mr. Roque's dog. I'm going to write that on the board with the apostrophe S. Mr. Roque's dog. Okay? How would that be expressed in Espanol? Remember, it's no longer the whatever, it's no longer whomever's whatever, it's the whatever of whomever. Somebody read that sentence in Spanish. The Spanish translation. Here is Mr. Roque's dog, or literally, here is the dog of Mr. Roque. Somebody read it.
Aquí está el perro del señor Roque.
Roque, muy bien, muy bien. Aquí está el perro de, wait a minute, he read it right, but I'm going to try to confuse you. De el señor Roque. Here is the dog of Mr. Roque, of the Mr. Roque. What's the problem? He read it correctly. What's the problem though? What's the problem with the way I wrote it? What's the problem?
The El Señor.
Oh yeah, well, El Señor carries the title, Señor carries the title El Señor, right?
It should be del.
Muy bien, muy bien. Who said that? Pat on the back. Muy bien. I cannot follow de with the masculine singular el. I gotta create the contraction el, or excuse me, del. I gotta create the contraction del, right? Now, what if it wasn't, let's get rid of this. What if it wasn't Mr. Roque's dog, but what if the dog was, I don't know, what if the dog belonged to a señora? What if the dog belonged to a señora? Like for example, el perro de la señora Rojas. I don't know, Señora Rojas' dog. Do I need to create a contraction? I have de followed by la. Do I need to worry about creating a contraction? I'm asking. It's a yes or no question. Do I need to worry about creating that contraction?
No.
No. Let's go back to this page. Remember. Sorry. Well, we're talking about the I don't know why that won't erase. Maybe let me move that out of the way. Again, I can follow de with la all I want, no problem. I can follow de with los all I want. Sorry. De with los all I want, no problem. I can follow de with las all I want, no problem. What I cannot follow de with is el. I have to create the contraction. Let me start over. Create the contraction del. Okay? Muy bien, muy bien. So that's why you read it correctly, even though I was trying to throw you a curveball to help remind you. Okay? Anytime we follow de with the singular masculine definite article el, we have to create that contraction del. Okay? All right, not really rocket surgery, but you guys seeing how that works? Preguntas, any questions on that? All right, how are we doing on time? Okay, we've got time. Let's finish our numbers. Clase, por favor. You are now you're experts in ones. You learned how to count up to 30, even the 20s, right? Let's learn the rest of our tens. Eventually we'll learn our hundreds. We'll learn the word for thousand, million, billion, trillion. Numbers in Spanish are just like numbers in English. They just wrap around each other and keep repeating, all right? So if you'd like, there's a couple of different places. En la página 74, I think it was page 74. Yeah, page 74 or page 84. The vocabulary list on page 84. Or if you're looking at the ebook, access the vocabulary list. Or if you have the textbook, page 74. We're going to learn our numbers, our tens, all the way to 100. Okay? Now, there's something I need you to remind me of. Let's see, what time we're done at 10:45, is that right? I think 10:40, sorry, 10:40. We got to hurry. Gracias, por favor. Let's look at these tens really quickly. Remind me, ¿cómo se dice 20 en español? 20. This has got to be fast, so take yourselves off mute. ¿Cómo se dice 20 en español? 20, 20, 20. Muy bien. Now, if I wanted to express numbers in the 20 series, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, right? It became what? Words like 21. Smashed them all together to make one word. If I look at the word 21, if I break it down, 20 y 1. Look at the board. That's kind of what it looks like. Literally 20 and 1, right? 20 y 1. But what I've done, if I smashed it all together to make one word, I don't express it as 3 words. I smashed it all together to make one word. 21. 21. Okay? 21. And that's what I've done for my 20 series. So if 21 is 21, what's 22? Fast. Tell me. 22. 22. If 20, all one word, right? All one word. 22. I got to add a written accent mark because of the rules. And again, if I break it down, 22, literally 20 and 2, right? But that's not what I'm doing. I'm smashing it all together to make one word. That's what I do for my 20 series. So if 22 is 22, what's 23? 23. Keep going. What's 24? 24. Keep going. Faster, louder. 25. 25. 26. 26. 27. 27. 28. 28. 29. 29. And I'm smashing all those words together to make one word. 21, one word. 22, one word. 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, right? Now when we get to our 30s, everything is going to change. For the rest of my 10s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, I have to express these numbers as 3 separate words. Let's do this a piece at a time. Let's figure out our 10s. If 20 is 20, what's 30? Look at the book. ¿Cómo se dice 30? 30. I heard somebody say it. Let's keep going. 30. 30. What's 40? ¿Cómo se dice 40? 40. Muy bien. 40. Keep going. 50. 50. Keep going. 60. 60. Keep going. 70. 70. Keep going. 80. 80. Keep going. 90. 90. Let's stop right there. Do you see patterns? Here, 30, it's E-I-N-T-A, but otherwise, do you see the enta? Enta, 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 enta. You see the patterns? These are my 10s now that I'm talking about. My 10s. And again, if I look closely, right? 30. I can see tres, something to do with 3 10s. 40. I can see cuarto, right? 40. 4 something to do with 4 10s. I can see 5 and 50. I can see 6 and 60. I can see 7 and 70. 8, 90. Anyway, so look for patterns. These are my 10s. Now, just something here quick. Look at the words 60 and 70. ¿Cómo se dice 60 en inglés? 60. We gotta hurry, we're gonna run out of time. 60. ¿Cómo se dice 60 en inglés?
60.
60. What's 70? ¿Cómo se dice 70 en inglés?
70.
70. They're the same exact word with just one little letter difference, right? 60 and 70 look an awful lot alike, just one little letter difference. Look, the difference is between the letters S and T. Just as alphabetically the letter S comes before the letter T, numerically 60 comes before 70. That's how you remember, and don't get those two confused. Alphabetically, S comes before T, numerically 60 comes before 70. 60 has the S, 70 has the T. 60, 60, 70, 70. You see? And all of these have to be expressed, all the rest of the numbers have to be expressed with three words. So for example, tell me again, 30. ¿Cómo se dice 30 en español? 30. So 31 is what? Literally? 31. Literally, three words, 30 and 1. So if 31 is 31, what's 32? 32, three words. What's 33? 33. What's 34? 34. Yeah, we could do this all day. It's not rocket surgery. You see how this works, right? Just remember, yeah, for the rest of my tens, I'm breaking everything down and expressing it with three words, okay? Just real quickly, we got to finish this. I got one more little thing. Tell me again, 90. ¿Cómo se dice 90 en español? 90. 90. All right, so then, ¿cómo se dice 100? 100. That's the word. Now, 100 is only 100, or I should say the word 100 is only 100 when 100 is all by itself. Anytime I have a word, or excuse me, a number greater than 100, anything, I wrote that backwards, sorry, anything greater than 100, that 100 word becomes ciento, and I add to it. So 100, when 100 is all by itself, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 99, 100. But as soon as I add to 100, 101, 101, 102, 102, 103, 103, 104, you see, 104, 105, 105. Anything greater than 100, that 100 word becomes ciento. I think we're down to less than 2 minutes. I want to make sure. ¿Hay preguntas? I know we kind of zipped through this. ¿Hay preguntas?
I think we do get out at 3:40 or 10:45.
Oh, is it 10:45? Okay, then I got a few extra minutes for breathing room. Okay, anyway, like I said, look at me. This isn't rocket surgery. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, right? Practice your numbers, practice your tens. Remember what we talked about. Even though the 20s are smashed together to make one word, the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, it continues. Those series of numbers are lengthened out or elongated out and expressed as literally 30 and 1, 30 and 2, or 40 and 1, 40 and 2, 50 and 1, 50 and 2, expressed that way. And then remember, 100 all by itself, 100. Anything more than 100, the 100 word changes to ciento, and then we go from there. You know what? I'm going to add one more thing since we got time. I didn't mention this with the other group. Cliff, this might come up in lab. Lase por favor. When we're expressing numerical quantities, we use a comma and sometimes a decimal. Okay? We use a decimal. Well, the comma, for example, if I were to write this number down, somebody read this number in English. What's that number in English? What is that number in English?
1,000.
Is that number greater than or less than 10?
Greater.
Greater than, because in English we use the comma to express numerical quantities that are large, right? If I were to change this comma to a decimal point in English, a decimal point, now somebody read that number. What is it? Read that number, somebody, anybody.
1.
Okay, it's the number 1.000.
One.
Yeah, 1.000. Is that number 1.000, is that number greater than or less than 10? Less than. So we manipulate commas and decimal points in English to express large or smaller numerical quantities depending, right? Guess what? In Espanol, they manipulate the comma and the decimal point exactly opposite to the way we're used to manipulating them in English. So, how would you express the number 1,000 in Espanol? we'll learn how to say that word.
With a period.
With a period, with a point. Don't let that confuse you. This is only confusing if you let it. For example, if you go to negotiate the price of a house or a car, or negotiate a salary, right? Don't think that they want, you know, $1.000 for that car. What they want is $1,000 for that car. Don't let that be a problem for you, okay? Just know that they manipulate, in Spanish-speaking countries, they manipulate the comma and the decimal exactly opposite to what we're used to in English, okay? All right, gracias por favor, we're getting close. I know we kind of zipped through that information quickly. Once again, this lecture will be posted in our Moodle course for you to access later and re-watch as many times as you need, right? But before we sign off, gracias por favor, hay preguntas? Hay preguntas, any questions? Ok, no tengo nada más, no tengo nada más. That's all I had for today. Muchísimas gracias, muchísimas gracias. Adiós, adiós.
Gracias. Adiós.